I'm Steph Garcia, and we're joined by Stephen F. Austin Athletic Director Ryan Ivey to discuss the open Associate AD for Compliance role with the Lumberjacks. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
You bet, Steph. Thanks for having me.
So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of your senior leadership team. How will this role kind of fit into the people that you depend on the most in your department?
Yeah, for us, this role is critical. I mean, you think about just compliance in general and the way that the NCAA landscape is evolving and changing. I mean, it is going to be critical, and this individual is going to be on the front lines with us really on a daily basis and helping us navigate the changes and the challenges that are certainly coming and being able to react and really prepare for that. And that's from a name, image, and likeness standpoint to everything that's going on with the constitutional convention and the new constitution and how Division I is going to be shaped over the next, 6 to 8 months, the year, however long that's going to take for us moving forward. So it's going to be really critical. It's a position that does serve on our senior leadership team that's really going to be there to help guide our department, our coaches, and our staff, and someone that, quite frankly, that I lean on heavily. I always tell people this all the time. I grew up really on the external side, so I know just enough about compliance to keep myself out of trouble, and so I've got to be able to really depend on someone to really help guide our department, really from that standpoint moving forward.
From a cultural fit standpoint, with your leadership style, are there any traits that you're in particular looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for someone who can come in, who has the ability to really lead a unit, someone that can really focus on educating our coaches and educating our student athletes. Looking for someone who is a servant leader, who's willing to do the things that are necessary to help grow our department and really to help grow our student athletes and what we're doing there. From a specific position responsibility, we certainly need someone with previous experience. We want someone who has the ability to really understand the Division I landscape and what's going on, and to really help us be on the forefront of that. And I think that's going to be important. The ability to use technology, the ability to leverage technology. I think in this position, we have several platforms that we use, from Teamworks to ARMS to Real Response to some of those as well. And so the ability to navigate that. And then I think probably most importantly, the ability to really build relationships on campus. And we need to continue the momentum that we had moving forward, and the things that we've done previously, especially with our financial aid office, our registrar's office, our missions office, those individuals. And so someone who's willing and able to build those relationships are really critical for us.
So in the job description, it mentions that there is potential for sport oversight. Is experience with sport oversight important to you in a candidate? And do you have any sense for, which direction that will go?
Yeah, no, it certainly doesn't have to be. Obviously, if you had it, that's helpful, right? Because you've been in the chair and you understand what that looks like from that standpoint. But I think I'm a little different when it comes to sport oversight for me. What I tell our sport oversight admin, our sport supervisors, look, I don't want you to be there to have to manage the programs. I want you to be there to support our programs, and to be there to understand, to get to know our coaches, to get to know our student athletes, because essentially they're an extension of me. When it comes to the hiring process, whether it's the personnel decision, whether that's to hire or terminate a coach, ultimately that decision rests with me, and I'm going to take those thoughts and considerations of our sports supervisors from an input standpoint. But ultimately, that's my responsibility. And so I don't want them to feel like when they're in those conversations and in those meetings and around those teams that, hey, I'm evaluating you, right? That's not what I want. I want those sports supervisors to be there to help our teams, to help grow the relationship, to help build that trust, really from a culture standpoint moving forward. And so that's what we focus on more than anything. I want them to be engaged and involved with that. And so it doesn't necessarily have to have sport supervision and oversight previously, but you do have to have the ability to build relationships with people. And I think that's really critical for us moving forward.
Let's touch back on NIL. Obviously, Stephen F. Austin is an extremely strong mid-major. You have excellent football and basketball. How is NIL going among your student athletes right now? And what role will this hire play in advancing those efforts?
Yeah, no, it's certainly been interesting. I think every institution probably has different war stories, if you will, of what's going on. We certainly have ours as well. We've had probably about 25 or 30 student athletes have been able to sign some deals. I think our average deal right now, if I were to look back, I mean, it's probably around that $150 mark or something moving
Mm.
forward. So we don't have anybody that's really doing any major substantial deals. But I think it's been good for our student athletes to be out there, to have the opportunity to really take the initiative moving forward. We've signed with No Cap and we've partnered with No Cap right now, and so we've been able to leverage their marketplace and they've been able to create educational opportunities for our student athletes as well. The state of Texas has its own name, image, and likeness law, and so we've been kind of monitoring that, what that looks like for us. And so there's things that we can and can't do from a state agency standpoint, and so we certainly excuse me, try to monitor that moving forward. In this position, this compliance position is going to be someone that it helps us maintain those boundaries along with our general counsel's office and make sure that we're having those conversations with our student athletes and making sure that really our coaches and our staff aren't doing anything really that they're not supposed to be doing from a image and likeness standpoint. And that's a tough deal just because, again, we got so many other things going on that sometimes you can get caught up in the weeds of being the NIL police. And as I've told our coaches and our student athletes, look, we want to be here to help you. We want to be here to try to help you maximize as many opportunities as you can. But ultimately, this is your responsibility, and this is what you wanted from a student athlete standpoint, and this is really the opportunity that you have. And so you need to take responsibility for your actions and be there moving forward. And we want to help guide you, and we want to help direct you when it comes to tax implications and when it comes to education of budgets and what it looks like for contracts and those type of things. We certainly want to be there to help, but we're not going to get involved in per our state law. We can't get involved in some of that. And so it's important that we have those boundaries, but yet be there to support our student athletes. And I think this position is going to certainly be there to help.
It sounds like this position is going to have a lot of exciting things on its plate because, as you mentioned, it's kind of a wild west right now in terms of compliance.
Very much so.
In college athletics. So last question, give me a little insight. Tell me if I'm a candidate looking at this role, but I'm curious about Texas. Sell me on living in beautiful Nacogdoches.
Yeah, so Nac is a great town. It's the oldest town in Texas. It was, when people think about Texas, they think about the six flags that flew over Texas. Actually, Nacogdoches, excuse me, has had 9 flags that's flown over it.
Wow.
All the way back to 1796. And so it is an old town. It is really a historic town for us as well. It's a town of about a population of about 40,000. Obviously, Stephen F. Austin is a big economic driver for this community in the East Texas region. It is here, and from a Nacogdoches standpoint, we've got some really unique opportunities. We've got our own brewery. We've got a really unique downtown area that's really starting to grow and really do some things as well. We're 2 hours from Houston. We're 3 hours from Dallas. We're an hour and a half from Tyler, hour and a half from Shreveport. Depends on how fast you drive, right? And so as I tell people moving forward, Nacogdoches has everything you could potentially need from a town and community standpoint. It really does. We have great outdoor activities. We have a couple lakes around us. So we have a lot of things that are going for us moving forward. But if you can't find it in Nacogdoches, then you can get to Tyler pretty quickly, or you can get to Houston and you can get to Dallas. And really, as I tell folks, if you can't find it in Houston or Dallas, you probably don't need it, right? And it's just one of those things moving forward. So it's a great small town. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to really, from a community standpoint, this community really embraces Stephen F. Austin and really loves us and what we're doing. And so looking for someone that's going to come in and understand that culture and that community aspect of it. And I think it's great. My wife and my 2 boys, I have a 12-year-old and 10-year-old. They love it. They've really enjoyed being here. Outside a little bit of the humidity sometimes, the weather's been pretty good as well. But it's really, really a fun place to be.
It sounds awesome. Best of luck with the search. Thank you for joining us today, and go Jacks.
You bet. Thanks, Steph.